Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next YouTube video, and this is going to be my next Star Wars movie review. And since A New Hope was last week, that means, yes, of course it is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back this week. Now, with this one, I suppose, widely considered, I think the majority of the Star Wars fandom would agree that this is probably the best of the Star Wars movies, the six of them. So this one usually tops most people's list. If you've seen my previous videos, you will already know that the first and second spots of the six are taken up already for me. So my order now, once including this, it'll include everyone. So I might as well just say my full order now is Episode 3, Episode 1, Episode 5, Episode 4, Episode 6, Episode 2. So that's my order, two prequels, then the three original trilogy, and then Attack of the Clones. So that's my order. This is my third favourite Star Wars movie. Now, I suppose getting straight into this, I think this movie probably is a little bit kind of overhyped, because it's so obvious, I think, looking at any member of the Star Wars fandom, that this always gets a pass as being a really good Star Wars movie, and I think it's just a bit overhyped because kind of looking back on it, I just briefly before starting this review read the description on the back of the box, and it's just like, wow, that description is only a few lines long, and pretty much says the whole movie minus the very end scene, which is obviously the "I am your father" thing. And I'm just like, wow, that's a very basic plot. I'm just like, so it's kind of coming back to what I said about Episode 4 and New Hope, in that the original trilogy is good and did an excellent job at introducing Star Wars, while I think the prequel trilogy showed what Star Wars could do when it was already established and you could basically do what you needed to do with it. So in that sense, I get why 4, 5 and 6 came out first, and then it was the more complicated prequel movies that came out second. I think this movie kind of highlights that, because this is the second movie of the original trilogy. Compare this to the second movie of the prequel trilogy, and there's a huge change, because Attack of the Clones is pretty much, it covers the most amount of ground, I think, in terms of what that movie accomplishes. It does so much. The prequel trilogy only works because of Attack of the Clones, and it almost Attack of the Clones sacrificed itself for the prequel trilogy to be good, what it is. While with this one, it's just the second movie of the original trilogy, and it has some very important moments in it, but I think that it almost gets too much credit for only a few scenes, like the Hoth battle at the start, Yoda and Luke on Dagobah, and then the end fight. I think the movie almost gets so much credit for those three scenes that you almost forget about the rest of the movie. So, I'll get into some specifics now. This movie opens up with a bang. It's a really great opening, I think. The battle on Hoth, just continuing pretty much from where Episode 4 left off. They've been battling for a while, and this is just the latest of those battles. It's a really nice looking ice planet battle. You see the walkers coming in. It's one of the most well known probably battles in cinema history, and it rightly so, because it really works. It's dramatic. The snow speeders versus the AT-ATs is just a perfect kind of type of battle, where it's not in space, it's kind of a more ground-based battle, and it just works. You're using the tow cables to take down the AT-ATs, the AT-ATs being more powerful as they approach the rebel base. It's this perfectly set up battle, and works. You see Luke shot down, kind of lost in the battle, gets into the Wampa cave, or sorry, I think I mixed up the movie there a bit with regards to what happened, but anyway, that's kind of what happens. At the very start of the movie, is the Wampa caves. Completely mixed that up for some reason. But yeah, you get the nice moment with Obi-Wan there appearing before Luke. Luke what appeared to be using the Force for one of the first times in I'm using the Force now, like actually getting the lightsaber to his hand. That worked as a very nice scene and stuff like that. But immediately after the Hoth battle, I think is a slight problem with Empire Strikes Back, and that is mainly that it separates the main group. Luke goes away from Han, Leia, Chewbacca basically for the rest of the movie, and is only reunited with Leia at least at the end of the movie. So for basically all of The Empire Strikes Back, you get no Han and Luke interaction, and because of the way Revenge of the Jedi goes, you end up with Luke and Han not having a whole lot of time to really develop their relationship and stuff like that. So it's a bit of an odd one there, but it works that Luke had to go and find Yoda on his own. Obi-Wan told him to go there, and there you get some really nice moments as Luke is kind of trained, I suppose, fully for the first time. It was a bit too intense, I suppose, when Obi-Wan was trying to train him in the middle of all that drama. So he has just this time to come to this planet where the Empire are not going to find them and just train. And Yoda, like this being the introduction of Yoda, it's very interesting. I think comparing the Yoda of the prequel trilogies to the Yoda of this original trilogy, because he is a very different character, but there is a hint that he's the exact same guy. Um, Different in that you can tell that Qui-Gon Jinn has had an influence on Yoda. That's why he's out here on his own, not trying to really influence the galaxy. Um, but he's definitely wanting to train Luke. And then I think it's the moment when Luke has the visions of basically what's happening to Han Leia on Cloud City, and he feels the need to go, and Yoda basically in a repeat of basically what he says to Anakin, like don't go like after them, it's kind of like it's the path to the dark side, it's a trap, but Luke goes anyway because he's attached to his friends, and this sets up I think one of the best parts of the whole Star Wars saga, and that is the different paths that Luke and Anakin take, basically in terms of the same kind of character flaw that they're kind of too attached to their friends. Anakin just goes down the road of being completely overly attached, while Luke is more of a they're my friends, I want to save them type guy. So that's a nice moment there, and on Dagobah you have some great training scenes and you see some of the humor of Yoda, that sort of thing, and that sets up the kind of end of the movie where he leaves Yoda and Yoda's like wondering, oh, this is going to like make or break him, and almost probably one of the more important scenes in the whole original trilogy would be the cave scene that happens on Dagobah. What's in there, only what you take with you, and instead of taking nothing with him and experiencing like nothing in the cave, he takes a blaster with him. He takes the blaster, has a lightsaber, brings the weapons with him, and experiences a fight against himself in the Darth Vader costume and in the suit. And it's very interesting once you know that Anakin is Luke's father, when you see this fight, and that this is what Luke has the potential to become, just like his father. And that's kind of like, it's a big experience I think for Luke here when he faces Vader and then kind of comes out of it, and kind of it kind of almost like fully shows him that like that's not the way to go. He made a mistake bringing the weapons in, and this probably leads to the other side of the story. And I suppose this would be my kind of thing where I kind of think that this movie is a little bit overrated, in that the Han, Leia, Chewie going to Cloud City, meeting Lando bit, I think is a bit overrated in terms of how good it is. The best parts of Empire Strikes Back for me are the bits that have Luke in it, because his is ultimately the main story, and while the other side of the story is important in like they need to go to Cloud City to ultimately lure Luke to Cloud City to set up the finale. Yeah, that's fine, but they don't spend too much time on the other side of the story. Um, but there are moments like the Han Leia relationship developing. They arrive in Cloud City, and you have the introduction of Lando, who's a pretty awesome character, and Darth Vader's there, Boba Fett's there, and there is a lot of stuff that happens. I just felt that the movie almost spends a bit too much time on Cloud City, when maybe they should spend a bit more time on Luke. There are some really good scenes on Cloud City, though. The kind of the relationship scenes between like Han, Leia and Lando, and then the others, are good. Maybe they spent. I think one of the ones would be a bit too much time on the Chewbacca C-3PO kind of little plot that they had going on there with him getting wrecked. Um, but in the end, as I said, it sets up the finale pretty well in that Luke's friends are captured. He's going to arrive there to save them. It's the perfect trap. And then obviously Boba Fett gets Han Solo frozen in carbonite, and that's one of those emotional scenes, and I think it really works. The further development of that Han Leia relationship, and again, it kind of takes Han Solo out of the picture for until the start of Return of the Jedi. Um, so I think the last thing probably to cover is that kind of final few scenes of this movie, and that is obviously Luke arriving on Cloud City, getting into the confrontation with Darth Vader, and the big reveal that happens. The lightsaber fight is a huge improvement from Episode 4, which I think rightly shows that um, something wasn't quite right, I suppose, with the way they did the fight in the first original trilogy movie. In that this had a bit more energy to it. This kind of worked. In that it was Luke who had a bit of experience with the lightsaber, and then Darth Vader, who was obviously hindered by being in the suit, but he was definitely in control the whole fight. And it was just a pretty good scene overall. Really dramatic with the way it was shot. Cloud City was like the perfect backdrop to have this fight in, with the various lights going out, using the carbon freezing chamber, and just the kind of all those moments of Darth Vader showing how much more impressive kind of he is. Like he can easily use the Force. Luke can't really use it that much, and then ultimately you kind of go outside of the kind of buildings, and you see that this place really is Cloud City. If someone falls off here, they are dead, basically, and that's where the reveal happens. And it's one of those moments in cinematic history that just works. It's rightly so remembered as like one of the best moments in cinema history, I think, because it is a really good moment. There are a few hints that may kind of spoil it for you before the reveal actually happens, but I think just it happening there, like Luke doesn't think he's not thinking at all that this guy could be my father, but it just works so well here, in that Darth Vader knows it's going to get an emotional reaction out of Luke, and I suppose the fact that Luke doesn't join Darth Vader is an interesting moment as well, and basically throws himself off this kind of spire into the kind of like trash system. He'd rather like die than join Darth Vader, but ultimately he's saved by the escaping Leia, Han, and Lando, and that's where the end of the movie happens. And really, I think this movie showed that not every movie needs to end with the heroes in a good position, winning or anything like that. This movie ends with the heroes in a terrible position, and I think that works so well for like the start of Return of the Jedi, in that Han is basically out of the picture. Like, there's basically no chance of him being saved. Luke has lost a hand, has got this huge kind of emotional reveal and is kind of like stunned completely by it. Leia's obviously lost Han. Chewbacca's lost his best friend. Lando has to deal with the fact that he basically betrayed Han, Leia, and Chewbacca, and is trying to like redeem himself from that, and also I suppose get revenge on Darth Vader for what he did in this situation with Cloud City. Um, it's a really actually good setup, I suppose, in the end. And throughout this movie, I think as well we had more Emperor and Palpatine and like Darth Vader moments as well, which were pretty good as well. So coming to the end of this review, it is a very very good movie. I just don't think it's as good as like looking in on the Star Wars fandom from the outside would have you believe. I think the Star Wars fandom as a whole, I think, really heavily underrates the prequel movies and kind of really overhypes the original trilogy movies. Um, I'd like to think that I probably have a bit of more of a balanced view on the whole saga. Um, I prefer the prequel trilogies because, as I said, they kind of suit my taste in movies better in that I like my movies to have a little bit of complexity in them. So the politics kind of subplot to the prequel movies kind of really kind of like appeals to me, while the lack of maybe a kind of subplot beyond like adventure in the original trilogy perhaps is a bit of a downer kind of for me. But overall, as I said, love the hot battle, love the final scenes, and there are some nice scenes in the kind of Leia and Han kind of subplot as well. So it's a very solid movie, just not as good as I think most people would have you believe. Definitely, like I think it's one of those things where nostalgia just completely takes over when people think of this movie because of the whole. I remember seeing the Darth Vader "I am your father" line for the first time. That kind of takes over, I think, a bit. But you know, that's pretty much the end of this review. I sorry if I missed any part of the movie. I don't kind of like script these out, really plan them. I literally just um, watch the movie like a day or two beforehand, and then sit down in front of the camera and go. Like I have no notes in front of me. I literally just have this and mainly have a glance at the blurb on the back of the thing. So sorry if I haven't remembered everything, but anyway, yeah. Next week is going to be my final Star Wars movie review, at least for the time being, because like there are 7, 8, and 9 coming out in 2015, which is still surprising for me to say. The fact there are more coming, it's pretty cool. As well as that, new Star Wars TV show, Star Wars Rebels, was I think recently announced by Disney Lucasfilm. Got to be on Disney XD sometime next year, I believe. Dave Filoni on board again, that sort of thing. So I'm excited for that, though nothing has basically been said beyond it being an original trilogy show. So Return of the Jedi next week. I'm excited to kind of, I suppose, finish up these things and like just have my thoughts on all the Star Wars out there, basically. So thank you for watching this review, and bye.